Once upon a time, in a hidden vale of evergreen hills, there stood a garden like no other. At dawn, its mist would turn to silver ribbons, and by midday, its blossoms glowed with secret joy. The garden belonged to an old house with whitewashed walls. Near its edge lived a humble couple, Rowan and Alara. They were kind and gentle, though their hearts carried a longing so deep it sometimes echoed through the night. Every evening, under the lantern light of their small cottage, Alara would whisper, "Oh, Rowan, if ever our dream could awaken," and Rowan would gently press her hand and promise, "It will, my love." One spring dusk, Alara stood by the garden wall and saw a plant whose leaves shimmered like green flame. It was called the wind rampion. She reached through the fence and touched it, and a longing pure and bright rose inside her. The next night she dreamed of holding a child whose laughter would fill the halls of their home. The hedgerows stirred. From the shadow beyond, a figure watched. A woman in a cloak of moonlight, whose eyes were sharp with ancient promise. She knew that longing, and she knew opportunity when she heard it. When the day arrived that Rowan brought Alara the first sprig of wind rampion, the owner of the garden confronted him. "You have stolen from me," she said, "and I will take your greatest dream in exchange." The despair in Rowan's face was clear, and so the bargain was made. The garden's owner vanished with Alara's unborn child into the twilight. They named her Ariel, though no voice said it aloud. She grew up bright-eyed, golden-haired, and unaware of the promise held in her heart. Far beyond the hills of the old garden, up on a cragged hill where the wind never ceased, the woman built a tower of white stone. No door, no stairs. A single narrow window stood high above the ground, framed by climbing vines that whispered in the gale. And there, in the tower, grew Ariel. Her hair glowed like spun sunlight, and they called her Rapunzel, for the rampion plant that released her into that world. Every gust of wind caressed her hair, and the tower trembled as though alive. The woman came each eve, and her voice echoed around the walls. "Rapunzel, let your hair come down." And from the window, a braid of gold would fall like a rope of light. The woman would climb, step by step, her cloak swirling in the wind, until she reached the high chamber. Ariel knew nothing of the world beyond that stone cell. The wind was her constant companion. It sang to her of distant seas, of towering forests, of stars that drifted beyond. She dreamed of stepping outside, but dared not voice it. One dusk, she found upon the windowsill a small, brass-handled mirror and a worn leather satchel. There were no explanations, only the silent message of new beginnings waiting. In the mirror, she saw herself. Hair flowing, eyes shining, tower walls closing in around the girl she barely recognized. Her heart stirred. She reached out, touching the cold glass, and the wind lifted a stray lock of hair and flicked it around her shoulder as if urging her, "See beyond." That night the woman climbed as usual, but Ariel caught her hand. "Why does the wind sing outside, but not for me?" she asked. The woman's voice was like dying fireworks. "My child, the wind sings for few, stay here." And yet Ariel's dreams had already begun to fly. Many miles distant, a young traveler named Crispin rode toward that hill of stone. He carried little more than a folded map, a compass that had lost its needle, and a heart full of questions. He had heard rumors of the tower where the wind never stopped, and of a voice as bright as dawn coming from its window. As he climbed the steep path, the gale tugged at his cloak. The stones underfoot gleamed with frost even though it was spring. At the top he paused, catching his breath. And there, above him, appeared a long fountain of golden hair, shimmering in the moonlight. He stepped forward, awestruck. "Who lives here?" he called. Ariel's voice came from the tower. "Who climbs into the wind?" The woman at the window chuckled low. "This tower is not meant for wanderers." Crispin bowed. "I seek a story. I heard the voice of the wind, and I followed it." Ariel watched. Her heart pulsed with hope and fear. She lowered the braid. Crispin reached for it, his fingers brushing gold, and began to climb. Halfway up, a cry cracked the air. The woman had discovered them. She appeared above them at the window, eyes flaming. "Rapunzel! Rapunzel! Let down your hair!" But Ariel, trembling yet resolute, met the traveler's gaze. The braid slid through her fingers as though alive, and she called out in the wind's voice, "Release me!" The woman recoiled and vanished like a candle smoke in the gale, though her laughter lingered. Together, Ariel and Crispin stepped into the night. But the wind gathered. Black clouds rolled in. Lightning cracked the sky. The garden of Windrampion trembled. The tower's stones bore witness to the power that had been shut away. The wind howled. Ariel's hair whipped about her like living rope. Crispin reached out and gripped her hand. "We must go," he urged, "before it finds you." They ran through the forest, the wind pushing them back, trying to claim Ariel home. The hair unraveled and whipped around trees, forming an aureole of golden light around her. Crispin held the satchel from the tower, the mirror, the leather pouch, and now the brass key that hung within. The night seemed endless until they reached the old garden wall, where Rowan and Alara stood, clasped hands, pale with worry. Ariel gasped. Her parents, though she had never seen them before. "Alara! Rowan!" she cried. The world cracked open. Before them stood the woman from the tower, tall and terrible, blended with storm and shadow. "You thought you could leave?" Her voice rolled like thunder. "You belong to me!" The wind obeyed her. It ripped hair from trees, lifted shrubs, raged across the vale. Ariel shuddered, but Crispin stood firm, raising the mirror as though it were a shield. The wind's cries wrapped about them, the shadow witch's laughter echoing. Then Ariel stepped forward. "No," she said softly. "My hair belongs to me. My wind belongs to me." And in that moment, the wind changed its shape, became a gentle breeze, swirling around her like protective wings. The woman screamed and the stones cracked. The tower trembled. Crispin leaned in and whispered, "Now run." They dashed across the lawn, through the garden gate, and into the open night. The tower collapsed behind them in a storm of white stone and golden hair. The gale died. At first light, the world felt still. The garden bloomed as though awakened. Rowan and Alara ran to their daughter. Ariel wrapped them both in a stand of light hair. Her mother's tears were like rain droplets of joy. Her father's arms trembled with relief. Crispin watched quietly, his compass needle now pointing true. "Where will you go now?" Ariel asked him. "Wherever the wind carries us," he said. And so he stayed. In the days that followed, Ariel learned the world beyond the tower, talking to birds in the garden, dancing in the wind corners of the city, visiting the hilltops where the stars leaned low. Her hair still glowed gold, but now it flowed free like a river, no longer a ladder. The woman, the witch of the tower, was gone. The wind whispered of her in the distance, but its voice was softer now. In the years that rolled forward, Ariel and Crispin helped others who were trapped by fear. They found towers built of sorrow, gardens choked by silence, and they lent their hair, their mirror, their courage. The wind flew ahead of them, stirring dreams in hidden places. And in the quiet mornings, Ariel would lean out of her window and call down to the valley, "Let the wind carry your hope. Let your heart climb." Because she knew through storm and stone that even the highest tower cannot bind a true spirit, and even the fiercest wind cannot silence a voice that dares to say, "I belong to myself." When dusk falls now, the garden walls glow faint gold. Children whisper stories of the golden-haired girl and the Tower of Winds. Travelers pause at where the great stone once stood and feel a breeze that softly sighs, freedom. And high above the hills, in the sky that never truly knows midnight, a single braid of gold threads through the clouds, a reminder that bravery unlocks what locks cannot hold. And if you listen, really listen, on a wind-bright evening, you just might hear it. "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Only this time, the hair lets down for no one but the girl herself.